Welcome to the deep dive. We're going deep today, folks. Really deep
Right.
into the world of Google search.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, you sent over some really cool stuff for this one, this Wikipedia article.
Mm-hmm.
Super
I
interesting.
know, right? It's amazing how much there is to learn about something we use every single day.
Totally. So where do we even start with something like Google search? I mean, it feels like it's been around forever.
Well, believe it or not, Google Search actually started as a research project.
It's a research project. Get out of here.
Yeah. Back in the 90s, they called it backrub.
Back rub, seriously. That's hilarious.
Right. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. The name actually gives you a clue about what makes Google so successful. It all comes down to this thing called the PageRank algorithm, which looks at backlinks to determine the importance of a web page.
Okay, hold on. PageRank, backlinks. You're losing me already.
Okay. Think of it this way. Imagine you're writing a paper for school, right? And you want to make sure you're using the most credible sources. So what do? You turn to the experts, the big names in that field.
Right.
Websites are kind of the same way. When a really important website links to another page, it's basically like giving that page a vote of confidence. It's saying, hey, this information is valuable. You should check it out.
Okay. I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Good. Now, Google's PageRank algorithm is designed to pick up on those votes and use them to figure out which websites are the most authoritative and trustworthy.
So the more backlinks a website gets from those big important sites, the higher its PageRank.
Exactly. And the higher its PageRank, the more likely it is to show up at the top of your search results.
That is so clever. I never realized how much thought goes into those search results.
Oh, a ton of thought goes into it. It was a game changer when Google first came out with PageRank. Back then, most search engines just relied on keywords. You know how many times a word appeared on a page?
Yeah.
And people were gaming the system like crazy. They would stuff their pages with keywords, even if the content was terrible. It was a mess.
So Google came along and said, we're going to do things differently. We're going to focus on quality over keyword stuffing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They figured out a way to mirror how we evaluate information in the real world. We trust experts.
Yeah.
We trust sources that are cited by other credible sources.
Right. And we don't just automatically trust something just because it's repeated a million times.
Exactly. And that's why you don't see as many of those spammy, low-quality websites at the top of your search results anymore. They might be stuffed to the brim with keywords, but they don't have the authority of a well-established, well-respected website.
It makes so much sense now. It's like you said, Google figured out how to bring that real-world judgment into the digital world.
They did, and they didn't stop there.
Yeah.
PageRank was just the beginning. Over the years, Google's algorithm has become even more complex. It now considers over 250 factors when ranking websites.
250? Are you serious?
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
What kind of factors are we talking about here?
Well, if I told you all of them, I'd have to,
Right. Top secret.
Exactly. But I can tell you that they consider things like how fast a website loads.
That makes sense. Nobody wants to wait around for a slow website.
Exactly. They also look at whether a website is mobile friendly.
Super important these days. Everyone's on their phones.
Right. And they even consider how long people actually spend on a page. If people are bouncing off a page after a few seconds, that tells Google something's not right.
Okay, that's actually really interesting. So it's not just about backlinks anymore. It's about the whole user experience.
Right. They're trying to provide the best possible experience for their users. And that means prioritizing websites that are fast, easy to navigate, and engaging.
Makes sense.
And one of the biggest updates that really shook things up was the Hummingbird update a few years back. It was a huge deal in the SEO world.
Hummingbird, what was so special about that one?
Well, before Hummingbird, Google was really good at matching keywords, but Hummingbird was different. It was all about understanding the meaning and the intent behind a search.
So instead of just looking for pages that say best pizza recipe, Google is now trying to figure out I'm looking for a thin crust pizza or a deep dish pizza or maybe even a gluten-free pizza recipe.
Exactly. Hummingbird tries to get inside your head a little bit. It wants to understand what you're really looking for, even if you're not using the most precise words.
Wow. Google is like a mind reader now.
In a way, yeah. And they're always learning, always refining their algorithms to keep up with how we search and provide the most relevant results.
That's amazing.
It is.
And a little bit creepy, if I'm being honest.
Maybe just a little.
Yeah.
But it's definitely impressive. And it means that creating a website is way more complicated than it used to be. You can't just stuff it with keywords and hope for the best anymore. You have to think about the user experience, the website speed, how well it works on mobile phones. It's a lot to keep track of. It definitely keeps things interesting, and it highlights Google's drive to constantly innovate. Because they didn't just stop with text, did they?
No, they didn't. I mean, I remember when Google was just a page full of blue links. That was it. Now I've got images, videos, news articles, even job postings right there in my search results.
Yep. And that's all thanks to universal search. It's Google's vision for the future of search. They don't want to just point you to other websites. They want to give you the information you're looking for directly.
It's true. I feel like I can find almost anything on Google these days, and I rarely even have to leave the search results page.
That's exactly what they're going for, a one-stop shop for information.
It really is amazing when you think about it, how Google search has become this like all-in-one tool for everything. And they just keep adding more.
They're not slowing down anytime soon. I mean, have you checked out those new AI overviews yet?
I have. It's pretty wild, right?
Right. It's like having a super smart research assistant summarizing information right there in your search results.
Yeah, like I've been messing around with it, and honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing. It's like you said, getting a crash course on any topic without having to actually do the reading.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially for those really complex topics where you just need a quick overview.
Yeah. There's always a but, right?
Well, I mean, it is important to remember that we're still in the early stages with AI, right? And like with anything new, there are going to be some growing pains.
Totally. I've seen some of those funny AI fails going around online, like that one where it said you should add glue to pizza dough.
Exactly. Those are great reminders that we can't just blindly trust everything an AI spits out, right?
Yeah.
We still need to be using our own judgment. Double check the information, especially if it's something important.
For sure, for sure. Just because it looks official doesn't mean it's always accurate. We can't forget about good old-fashioned critical thinking, even with all this fancy AI at our fingertips.
It's a tool, a powerful tool, but still a tool. And like any tool, it's only as good as the person using it and the information it's working with. And that's another thing about these AI overviews, right?
What's that?
They're pulling information from that massive amount of data Google has collected over the years, which means if there are biases in that data or inaccuracies, those can end up in the summaries too.
That makes sense. So it's not just about the AI itself.
Right.
It's about the information it's learning from.
Exactly. It all comes back to being a critical thinker, being aware of potential biases, both in the information we consume and even in ourselves.
That makes me think about those hidden search operators you were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like this could be a really good way to kind of take back some of that control, you know?
Exactly. They're like those cheat codes for the internet. Or like secret handshakes with the algorithm.
Secret handshakes.
That let you fine-tune your search and uncover all sorts of hidden gems. It's really empowering when you know how to use them.
You know, it's funny. Earlier you were talking about Google's goal of creating this, like, ultimate information hub. It's an amazing goal, but I'm curious, what does that actually mean for us, the people using Google every day?
That's a great question. On the one hand, it means we have access to more information than ever before, right at our fingertips. And often we don't even have to click through to a website to get it.
Right.
But it also makes you wonder, how is this changing how we interact with information?
Like, give me an example.
Okay, think about the I'm feeling lucky button. Remember that?
Of course. Though I haven't used it in ages.
Right. It used to be this fun, kind of quirky thing, right?
Totally.
Take you to a totally random website based on your search. You never knew what you were going to get.
A true adventure.
Right. A roll of the digital dice. But now, a lot of times it just takes you straight to one of Google's own products or services.
Oh, wow. You're right. I didn't even realize that. It's not so random anymore.
Not so much, no. And it makes sense from Google's perspective.
It does.
But it also reflects this broader trend, you know, this shift from searching for information to knowing information. It's subtle, but it's there.
Interesting.
Instead of just presenting you with a list of websites, Google is increasingly delivering the answer, shaping our understanding of a topic.
That's a good point.
Which can be great, but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, the difference between someone giving you a curated stack of books versus you wandering through the library yourself. You might miss out on some interesting stuff if you're not the one doing the browsing.
Exactly. You said it perfectly. And this shift, it doesn't just affect us, the users. It has huge implications for the entire internet, really. The economics of it all.
What do you mean?
Well, if everyone's just getting their information straight from Google, are they clicking through to websites as much?
Right.
Probably not as much. And that can hurt content creators, publishers, anyone who relies on website traffic to make money. It's a real concern right now.
That's a really good point. I
Yeah.
haven't thought about it like that before. It's kind of like how those big mega stores can put smaller businesses out of business.
Right. It's the same principle. And it all ties into the massive power and influence Google has these days, which brings us to that antitrust trial. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Everyone was talking about it.
Big news.
To be totally honest, though, I didn't really understand what it was all about.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, basically, the Department of Justice accused Google of being a monopoly.
A monopoly, like in the board game.
Kinda. But seriously, they were saying that Google has an unfair advantage in the search engine market, which could hurt competition and potentially even harm us, the consumers.
I see, I see. So it was about whether Google was abusing its power to, like, squash any potential rivals.
Exactly. And it was a long, complicated trial.
I bet.
But ultimately, the judge did rule that Google has a monopoly, yes.
Wow.
However, they didn't order Google to break up the company or anything like that.
Okay.
So the case is still ongoing.
Wow, so it's not over yet.
Nope. Still going on.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show how much is at stake here and how much debate there is about Google's role in the digital world.
It's kind of mind-boggling, this little search box causing all this chaos. It's amazing.
It really is. But it shows how much Google has become such an integral part of our lives.
Yeah, totally.
And how much we depend on it, often without even realizing it.
You know, speaking of how embedded Google is in our lives, those Google Doodles get me every time.
Oh, I know.
So good.
They're the best.
It's like that little burst of joy in my day.
I know. It's like finding a little treasure online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy how something so small, like a little doodle,
I know.
can just totally make your day, you know?
It's the little things.
It really is. Speaking of little things, what about those secret search operators you mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
Any more examples? I'm ready to become a Google search master.
Okay, so have you ever been looking for something on a specific website,
Ugh. Yeah.
but you can't quite remember what it was called
All the time.
or where you saw it?
Mm-hmm.
So you just end up scrolling and scrolling.
The worst.
Well, there's an operator for that.
No way.
Yep. You can obviously tell Google to just search within that one site. So, like, let's say you wanted to find articles about penguins, but only on National Geographic's website.
Okay.
You would type penguinsite.nationalgeographic.com.
You're kidding. That's amazing. Why have I never heard of this before?
Right. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And that's just one. You can use quotes to search for an exact phrase.
Oh.
Super helpful when you're looking for something specific. Or you can use the minus sign
Okay.
to get rid of certain words from your search.
Wow.
There's so many. It's like a whole secret language.
It really is. You know, for something we use every single day, Google search is full of surprises.
I know. Isn't it fascinating?
Totally.
It just goes to show how much they're constantly innovating and how much thought goes into it. You know, from those early days with PageRank
Right.
to universal search, and now with AI, it's incredible how much it's evolved.
It really is. We rely on it for so much.
Everything.
Seriously. From settling debates to finding new recipes.
You're learning about, I don't know, quantum physics.
Exactly. It's become essential.
It has. And as it keeps growing and changing, especially with AI becoming a bigger and bigger part of it, I think it's more important than ever to really be thoughtful about how we use it.
100%. It's like with any powerful tool, right? We need to learn how to use it responsibly and be aware of the potential downsides as well.
Exactly. Being aware of how it works, its limitations, the potential for bias, those are all so important.
Couldn't agree more. This deep dive has been a serious eye-opener. I'm going to look at my search results in a whole new way now.
That's what we like to hear. Knowledge is power, as they say.
It is. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. This was awesome.
This was fun. Always happy to geek out about Google search.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this deep dive.
Yes.
We hope you learned something new today. Until next time, happy searching.